Now, the passage I'd like to deal with today is from Joel chapter 3, verse 2, which draws attention to one of the more important elements of Zionism, which is the sacredness of the land of Israel and how that land belongs to Israel and ultimately to God. And it's not to be divided up and given away to other groups that God never promised it to. The reason I mention the land is because there are many Christians who fail to believe the land is special anymore. I actually had an extensive debate early this year with one Christian um, who holds to replacement theology. He believes the church is Israel, and he believes the land is not special anymore. He believes that the Holy Land, as revealed in the Old Testament, was merely a shadow of heaven. But we'll see that contrary to what he believes, the physical land is indeed still very special and sacred to God, and not just during the Old Testament era, but even today and up to the very day of judgment when Christ judges the nations. Now, the context of this passage in Joel chapter 3 is the great judgment of the Gentile nations after the second coming. And I believe this is actually the same sheep and goat judgment we read of in Matthew 25. What I want to draw your attention to is what sins God is going to be focusing on in regard to this judgment of the nations. Let's read in Joel chapter 3, verse 2. I will gather all the nations and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, and I will enter into judgment with them there on behalf of my people and my heritage Israel, because they have scattered them among the nations and have divided up my land. And when God speaks of Israel, he's not speaking about the church. He's speaking of Jews, the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who have been persecuted for thousands of years in various Gentile nations. But no one particularly mentions the fact that the nations have divided up his land. And that land is not heaven. That land is not Christ. Nations cannot divide up heaven, divide up Christ. Instead, that land is the same physical geographical location on the earth that God originally gave to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Again, this land God ultimately considers his land. And the implication of this text is that God is highly offended when his land is tampered with by mankind, when they seek to divide up that land and give it to people whom God never gave it to. This is precisely what has happened over the past 2,000 years. This land has been split up by Romans, the Byzantine Empire, Muslims, Turks, British, and even today there's talk of splitting up this land even more by means of a two-state solution. We see from this passage in Joel that God is highly displeased with any such partitioning up of his sacred land, and such partitioning will result in severe punishment from God. Now, of course, there's much more can be said about this issue, but I just want to submit this to you for your consideration. Please feel free to comment, share your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you.